There's also another concept that comes about. This especially becomes a little challenged in Neo Advaita Vedanta, which is based on Advaita Vedanta, but it's just sort of taking some specific ideas and, in my mind, sort of distilling it down to this sort of simplified understanding that's very intellectual and doesn't really take into account the original teachings and tradition. But in that concept, which you probably have heard before, that you are actually already enlightened, that the truth of your being, the truth of yourself, is already 100% liberated and free. And so there's nothing that you can do because you are already your true self. And this is technically true, but there is still the ego mind that exists in a limited state, that this can create a conclusion that my current experience is enlightenment. And so there can be this false idea that the actual experience that I'm having now is enlightenment, and there's really nothing else I need to do, when we're actually still experiencing the limited state. So the Advaita Vedanta approach, as I mentioned, when it's properly understood, is a legitimate path. But the practical issue is that it's easy for the mind to misunderstand, and what is designed as a spiritual practice might become a lot of mental concepts being misapplied. And so it can become a real challenge for us. Now, luckily, we have the other path. So Advaita Vedanta is one form of the path that really is all about rejecting things. But Tantra, as an alternative form, really helps to fill in the gaps and clear up the potential challenges that can come out of misapplied Advaita Vedanta as well. And so it actually still agrees with the core principles of all of this, which is only consciousness exists, and our true self is that same consciousness or awareness. But instead of rejecting the world, Tantra says, like, hey, if consciousness is the only thing that exists, then that means that everything that we are experiencing is consciousness, that even the world is consciousness. And so Tantra offers what could be considered a revolutionary approach that seeks to find the spiritual truth within the world itself. Instead of escaping from worldly experiences, Tantra invites us to embrace and integrate them into our spiritual journey. It recognizes that the world's not separate from spirituality, but rather a manifestation of spirit or consciousness. And by embracing the world and our experiences, we can awaken to the inherent divinity that's all around us. And so, just like the lotus blooms in muddy waters, Tantra teaches us to find spiritual awakening and growth amidst the challenges and the joys of everyday life. So the mud represents the world, the physical earth, the world, and also the muck that we might find ourselves in, the filth that human experience can have us experiencing. And it recognizes that we're trying to integrate these things together. So the mud represents the world, and the lotus symbolizes our spiritual essence. And through the practice of Tantra, we learn to cultivate the lotus of our true nature while still rooted in the world. And so the core idea here then is that at the heart of non-dual Tantra is the understanding that everything is vibrating energy that's arising from and as consciousness. There is only consciousness, but even the world itself is consciousness. Only consciousness ultimately exists, and the goal of this path is to rediscover our true nature, which is pure awareness or consciousness. Through the non-dual approach, we resolve all the conflicts and awaken to a direct perception that everything is pure spirit.